أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم آمين يا رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين اللهم اجمع شامل المسلمين والكريستيان والأمة في مدينة دباو وسلم دائما مجتمعنا هذا بالسلم والأمن والتقدم في بلدنا هذا آمين يا رب العالمين ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على خير خلقه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين يا رب العالمين.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today to praise and worship you and give you thanks for all the things you continue to provide for ourselves and our families. Father, we humbly ask for forgiveness for all the times we have offended you, when we forget to acknowledge your presence in the image of our brothers and sisters, and for moments we fail to be good stewards of the blessings you have given us. Continue to guide and protect each one of us, Lord, that we may always walk in the lights of your everlasting love and mercy. Grant us, Father, with your comfort in times of distress and with your strength in times of weakness. Bestow upon us your unending grace and healing, that we may in turn become instruments of gentleness and compassion to others. We ask all this in the name of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, with the prayer and the intercession of our Blessed Mother. Amen.
Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to our 19th session of It's a MATHtech Day Casio Technology Session spearheaded by Department of Education, Information and Communications Technology Services, Educational Technology Unit in partnership with Casio Calculators Philippines and Casio Education Philippines. Today we'll be having another interesting topic to be discussed by one of the most distinguished professors in Ateneo de Manila University. And to formally introduce her, she has been a faculty member of Ateneo de Manila University for 15 years before moving to the University of Southern Mindanao in North Cotabato in 2017. Her main areas of interest are in the teaching and learning of mathematics in disadvantaged settings and in the design of research-based technological tools for mathematical learning. These have driven the focus of her teaching and research for the past 20 years. She has published nationally and internationally and has hopes of inspiring math educators to express a love and passion for teaching mathematics. Dear teachers, let us welcome our speaker this morning, Dr. Debbie Marie Verzosa. Good morning, Doc. Good morning, Doc Debbie.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. Salamat sa
Kumusta
pag-imbita
po?
ninyo sa akin. So, good morning to all the teachers also. I want to give an introduction also of what you will expect for today's lecture. So, siguro marami sa inyo dahil teacher kayo, most likely, nag-aral kayo ng BSE Math, di ba? And sa BSE Math, alam ko kasama yung history of mathematics as one of your subjects. And posible naman na ang nangyari sa inyong history, hindi siguro na-emphasize sa inyo na meron palang kinalaman ng history dun sa ating curriculum ngayon. And in fact, maybe some students find algebra difficult kasi may transition from yung arithmetic to algebra, and that transition is also shown in the history of math. So yun yung isa sa mga magiging part ng aking lecture for today. Sana magustuhan ninyo kasi trinace ko talaga bakit kaya naging mahirap yung math pagdating ng high school. Tapos at the same time, because the focus is also on technology, I also thought of strategies of using the technology to actually help us transition from arithmetic to algebra. Kaya ang title nga ng aking lecture ngayon will be Fostering Algebraic Thinking Using Technology. Sir Bads?
Thank you, Dr. B.
Good morning. This talk is about using technology to foster algebraic thinking in high school. I hope you do participate in this workshop. Please get your calculator. Tapos, pag meron kayong QR code scanner sa cellphone or tablet, please get it. So please prepare your materials kasi dapat sa webinar na ito, hindi lang kayo nakikinig. There are actually some questions that I will ask you. So, sige, bigyan ko kayo ng time. Please get your materials, calculator, QR code scanner, and even pen and paper also. So, ayan na muna. So, I want to give an introduction. So, sana po may dala na kayo. Okay, again, I want to give you time to get your materials. Okay, now let's begin. Some of you are already using technology, but maybe some teachers are hesitant. Why should I use technology? Won't calculators make students lazy? Kasi di ba dapat natututo sila mag-compute? Paano yan? Pag lahat na lang ginagawa sa calculator, hindi na sila nag-iisip. In fact, there are already apps, di ba? Alam niyo naman yun, may mga app na ngayon na pipicturean nyo lang, kunwari isang equation, picture ng equation, tapos sasagutan na ng app para sa inyo. So wala nang isip-isip. So in that sense, maybe we become hesitant to use technology. So in this talk, what we will do is, well, granted, there are actually some disadvantages. Katulad nga nun, sometimes instead of doing the work honestly, they just let the computer do the work for them. But in this talk, what I want to emphasize is that there are also advantages. So paano natin gagamitin yung technology para mas maging advantageous sa ating pagtuturo? My first point is, calculators can offer a motivation for a topic. What do I mean by that? Sige, let's begin with this. This is actually a grade 7 topic, pero na-introduce na ang rational numbers or what we call fractions also in elementary. In earlier grades, bale sa elementary, usually pag tinuturo yung rational numbers, children are taught that rational numbers are numbers whose decimal representation is either terminating or repeating. So, it's either mag-end sila terminating or repeating sa katulad ng 1/3, 0.333, yan, with a bar. So, meaning, this 3 here repeats infinitely many times. 5/11, you can check using your calculator is 0.4545 and so on. Nag-uulit naman yung 45. So, ito yung karaniwan na experience ng mga bata about rational numbers. They think of it as a decimal that ends or that repeats. So, ano naman ang irrational numbers? So, of course, that's the opposite. Kung yung rational numbers, they either repeat or they terminate. Pag irrational naman, they are non-terminating and non-repeating. So both must be satisfied. Not ending and not repeating. So some examples are pi. So you can see here, there's no end, diba? Dot, 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 and so on. Tapos wala ring pattern. Walang nag-uulit. So these are what we call irrational numbers. Okay, now please get your calculator. Please get the decimal representation of this fraction. Sige, so participate tayo ha. So ano ang decimal representation ng fraction na 41/65? Okay. So hopefully you got this. 41/65 is equal to this. My question is 41/65 a rational number? Balikan natin yung definition kanina. Sabi kasi pag rational number, dapat daw either nag-end siya or nag-terminate. Actually, yung hirap malaman kung nag-end kasi syempre yung sa calculator, finite lang naman yung screen, hindi naman yan tuloy-tuloy. Pero it seems like there's no end. Okay, parang tuloy-tuloy siya, no? Tapos, mukha bang may nagre-repeat? 6307, 6923, and so on. Parang wala. So, if we look at this, we can conclude that 41 divided by 65 or 41/65 is irrational. But of course, if we know our mathematics, alam natin dapat this is a rational number. Rational ito. It's an integer over integer. Kaya nga sa grade 7, tinuturo na natin more precisely yung definition. Hindi na siya based on repeating or terminating, but it's based on a precise definition. So what is the definition that is expected to be known by a grade 7 student? Okay. A rational number is a number that can be expressed in the form P over Q, where P and Q are integers, where Q is not equal to 0. So ito pala yung meaning ng rational number, na basta meron kang integer over integer, syempre yung denominator mo hindi 0, basta may integer over integer, rational yon. So pagbalik natin dito, dapat yung 41/65, that's supposed to be rational. Kaya lang, kung maiipit tayo sa definition ng elementary na terminating, yung mga ganyan, we will be confused. That's why we have a more precise definition of a rational number. So even without looking at the decimal representation, malalaman nyo, integer over integer, so rational number na yon. Kaya nga, dapat malinaw pagdating ng high school, we try to clarify things that were learned in elementary. Bakit kaya hindi tinuro yung definition sa elementary? Siguro kasi pag mga grade 3, grade 4, they have no notion of what an integer is. So we're building up on what they know. Tapos ang tanong, tama pa rin ba yung yung tinuturo sa elementary? Kasi yung tinuturo sa elementary, di ba? Repeating or terminating ang rational numbers. That's actually a good way to describe it. Kasi makita niyo naman, di ba, 1/2, the usual fractions that we are using in elementary, they're almost always repeating. They have a pattern. Kahit yung 1/7, yung 1/7, if you compute it, okay, use your calculator, what is 1/7? Yung 1/7, medyo mahaba yung kanyang repetition. Sige, subukan natin. 1 divided by 7, please compute it. Okay, so this is what appears. To get the decimal representation, we press this SD button. So, does it look like it's terminating? It doesn't kasi mukhang mahaba masyado. Posibleng may continuation. But is it repeating? 142,857. Ito mukhang umulit. You have 142. Bakit 9? Kasi yung 85 na round off. So, it looks like 1/7 has a repeating decimal. 142,857, 142,857, 142,857, and so on. So again, the way of saying that a rational number is either repeating or terminating, that's a good description. Kaya lang, may limitation siya kasi pagdating sa ganitong klaseng fraction or ganitong klaseng rational number, it does not look like the decimal representation is repeating or terminating, which is again why we need to define rational numbers more precisely. And now that we know the precise definition of rational numbers, it will also allow us to conclude some statements or make some theorems about them. So for example, we can conclude the following. Okay, suppose that A, B, C, and D are integers and B and D are not zero, then A over B and C over D are rational numbers. So again, if A and B and C and D are all integers, then these two here, A over B and C over D, are rational numbers. Kaya nga natin sila tinawag na rational number ay dahil ratio. You have a ratio of an integer and another integer. So, what can you say about the sum? Kasi kung rational ang A over B and C over D, will the sum A over B plus C over D also be rational? What about the difference or the product or the quotient? Okay, anong palagay ninyo? So I suggest now you try to simplify. Compute ninyo what are the results of these operations here. Okay, so again, sabi ko kanina mag-participate kayo. So yan, may papel kayo dapat at pakisulat po ang sagot or simplified form nitong mga ito. Okay, so I'll give you time to do that. Okay, you can also write down on the comments if you want. Okay, like what is the simplified form of A over B plus C over D? O, try natin ha. So A over B plus C over D. So I'm sure you've been doing this for several years already. Diba? So A over B plus C over D is AB plus BC over BD. Ang tanong, rational nga ba ito? Sigurado ba tayong rational yan? Siyempre, knowing the fact that integer times integer or integer plus integer, lagi naman integer, diba? So AD plus BC here is an integer. BD, integer times integer is also an integer. So this is rational. So ganun lang yon. Paano nyo malaman kung rational number ang isang number? I-check nyo lang, is it a ratio between two integers? So kung integer yan over integer, then okay na yon. Oh, ganun din sa minus, integer over integer. Okay, what do you think for the product and for the quotient? Sige, please think first bago ko pakita yung sagot. Okay, pag-isipan muna. So hindi pwedeng nakikinig lang tayo. So A over B times C over D. Okay, so you have AC times AC divided by BD. Again, integer over integer. So rational? Yes, rational. What about this? AB divided by A over B divided by C over D. When we divide, then it becomes AD over BC. Tama? Rational? Or so is this surely a rational number? Integer over integer. Okay. If you answered yes, nako isip pa tayo, hindi ito sigurado na rational number. We're not sure. Tapos, kung isipin nyo, bakit hindi siya rational? Kasi integer ito. Integer naman ito. Bakit kaya hindi siya rational? Actually, I'm not saying na hindi siya rational. I'm saying we are not sure if this is rational. Okay, bakit? Kasi dapat yung C rin not zero. Kasi kung zero yung C, hindi na to number. So it's going to be undefined. So note that only B and D here at the start were defined to be non-zero. So here, to be sure na rational number din ito, dapat C is also not equal to zero. Yan. So now that we've had some introduction about rational numbers and irrational numbers, tapos diba, yung product nila, yung sum nila, sum ng dalawang rational number, rational pa rin. Pagka quotient, rational pa rin, basta hindi zero yung final, yung denominator na final answer, di ba? So, ang tanong ngayon, will this also be shown in the calculator? Okay, ang rational number natin, mga integer over integer. Tapos ano yung mga irrational? Irrational yung mga napakita ko kanina, square root of 2, pi, and so on. Irrational yun. So now, we must now agree that a rational number divided by a rational number, not 0, is surely a rational number. Katulad nito, rational yan. Diba? Rational din yan. Kasi pag nag-simplify kayo, magiging integer over integer. Wala namang 0. So, rational yan, sigurado. So, meaning, this is also rational. An integer divided by an integer. Okay, please use your calculator to compute this. Okay, I will also use my calculator. Okay, so anong i-compute natin? 11 raised to the 6 divided by 13. Again, our expectation is that the answer is rational kasi integer divided by integer. Okay, click equals. Okay, so ito yung lalabas. Paano nangyari ito na may pi? Diba, rational ito. Bakit biglang may pi yan? Of course, if you multiply this with this, rational times irrational, we can prove in number theory, for example, that this is still irrational. So, there's something strange going on here. Sabi ng calculator, irrational. Pero alam natin, dapat rational. So, what's going on? We found this. Okay, again, a contradiction. A rational is equal to an irrational number. So apparently, that happens na pwede daw isang rational mag-equal sa irrational. Of course, we know that cannot be true. Okay. Bakit kaya? Let's try to investigate further. If 11 to the 6 over 13 is equal to this, okay, what if we divide both sides by this fraction? So 11 to the 6 over 13 divided by this, ayan, is equal to the right side divided by the fraction. Okay, pag dinivide nyo, di ba, ang makuha nyo, kasi makancel na ito. So left side, ito divided by this. Right side, this one, divided by this. So the right side will just be pi. So ngayon, try nyo rin gawin ito sa calculator. Please press this on your calculator. What do you get? So again, I'll give you time to calculate. Paki-calculate po. Ano ang lalabas? Will it be something that you expect? Okay, sana po na-calculate na natin. Okay, anong ine-expect ninyo? So, ang lalabas actually is, if you calculate that expression, you will get 3.14159 so on. And if you calculate the value of pi, they're the same. At least for the first few decimal places. Yung sa dulo nito, hindi natin alam. Pero dito, pareho. So, siguro yun yung dahilan. Kaya siguro, lumabas na ganito kasi sabi ng calculator, first few decimal places niya, first 10 or first 12 decimal places niya, pareho. So meaning, siguro yan na sila. So yun nga kaya talaga nangyari. So nangyari, i-compare niya yung first 12 decimal places, tapos i-equate niya. Yun kaya yung nangyari. Let's try further. Kasi, posibleng hindi lang yung 11 to the 6 over 13 yung may ganon. What if we find another rational number na pag dinivide nyo, approximately pi? Will the calculator again show that a rational number such as a over b is equal to an irrational number? Mangyari kaya ulit ito? So, subukan natin. Okay, please calculate this. Try nyo ulit. Ano kayang lalabas? Sige, make sure you calculate kasi iba talaga pag kayo yung gumagawa ng pag-calculate sa calculator. You're more engaged. So please do this. Sige, so I'll give you more time. Calculate. All right, so this is what you should get. Okay? Pareho pa rin yung first, ilan to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 ba yun? 3, 6. Yeah. You have the first 9 decimal places with pi the same. So, kanina, 11 to the 6 over 13. Was that 13? Now, you have the same issue with 11 to the 6 over 17. It seems like it has the same issue with the other one. So, expect natin lalabas na rational equals irrational. Titingnan natin mamaya kung ganun nga ba lalabas. Okay? Same here. Okay? Sige, para I think you already get the idea, no? Na I'm doing these calculations and then ito yung lalabas. Sige, para medyo mas mabilis natin itong part, I'll just show you what happens if I do this. Okay? If I do that, rational divided by rational, ang in-expect natin dapat rational. Pag i-compute nyo, paano nangyari yon? Rational divided by rational, naging irrational. So again, there's something strange going. Actually, yun yung hindi ko rin ma-explain. Bakit ito, ang lumalabas, decimal, yung automatic, I did not click the SD button. So, pag click nyo ito talaga lalabas decimal. Pero pag ito ang i-click nyo, ang lalabas, pi. I really don't know why. So ito yung maganda sa calculator. Even if you have the technology, it can give motivation for a conversation. Diba? Weird siya. Kasi, again, pareho lang naman yung digit sa pi. Pero bakit dito hindi pi lumalabas? Pero dito pi lumalabas. Pag ito, itry nyo. Kung ayaw nyo maniwala, itry nyo talaga. Kung subukan nyo ito, i-calculate, rational divided by rational, ano ang lalabas? Okay? So, para hindi ko napatagalin pa, actually, ito yung lalabas, pi na naman. So, paano nangyari yon? Rational divided by rational, naging irrational. Okay. So, minsan nangyayari siya, minsan kahit na malapit sa pi yung approximation, hindi naman pi lumalabas. So, bakit kaya ganun? I don't know. So, ayan. So what we've shown is that these rational numbers have something strange going on with them. For some reason, they are very close to a rational number times pi. They are all approximately equal to a rational number times pi. Pero hindi ko rin maisip bakit sa kanilang lahat dito lang lumalabas yung pi dito sa first. Whereas lahat naman sila, as we computed earlier, is equal to a rational number times pi. So this segment here gives you an idea na kahit na yung topic pala natin, rational tsaka irrational numbers lang, there are a lot of interesting things going on and lalabas lang ito sa paggamit ng technology. So mas mapapalalim din natin yung discussion. But the important thing is we have to teach our students what is a rational number, what's the precise definition. Tapos, para kahit na may mangyaring ganito, they know that this is not supposed to happen. So yun din yun. How do we use technology to explore further? And at the same time, we have to know the limits of technology. The segment I showed you earlier, I actually got it from a YouTube video. Why do calculators get this wrong? We don't know. So nakakatuwa siya. Kung meron kayong panahon, maganda rin, subukan ninyong panoorin itong video. And you will see that technology, kahit na napaka-advanced na, it also has its limits. And it also urges us to think what goes on in the mind. Diba? What goes on in the mind of a calculator? Paano kaya nag-iisip ang calculator? Hindi ko rin masyadong alam yon, but maybe this video, this lecture can help you, diba? Discuss it further. So, technology, katulad ng sabi ko sa umpisa nitong lecture, di ba? Hindi ibig sabihin na magiging tamad lang tayo. If we can use technology to start an interesting discussion, then that is an advantage of technology. So we can use it to start an interesting discussion about rational and irrational numbers and about mathematics in general. Let's move on to the second part of the talk, which is about algebraic thinking. Okay, so the first part gives us parang a motivation for using technology. It's not just something that will make students lazy, but it's something that can actually help us in teaching and help the students learn. Now, what about using it specifically for algebraic thinking? Alam niyo, napakahalaga talaga ng algebraic thinking because this is the gateway to future study. Pag hindi naintindihan ng estudyante ang algebra, medyo hindi na siya mag-decide siguro na pumasok sa isang course na maraming math. So, how can we help students learn? So, as you see here from the ICME, as the language of higher mathematics, algebra is a gateway to future study and mathematically significant ideas. But it is often a wall that blocks the path of many. So, as teachers, how do we help students? Okay, what is algebraic thinking? Okay. Minsan kasi sinasabi natin sa elementary, may mga ganito naman tanong, di ba? 5 plus n equals 7. Ano daw yan? Arithmetic or math, ganyan. Hindi natin to tinatawag na algebra. Pero ang sabi nila, yung mga naririnig ko, hindi ko alam, joke lang yon. Pero ang sabi naman ng iba, kung x na daw ang ginamit, algebra na yon. Ganun lang ba kababaw ang meaning ng algebra na yung n sa elementary, pag ginawa niyo yung x, algebra na yon? Siyempre hindi. There's something deeper that's going on. So dapat naintindihan natin yon. So what is really the difference between arithmetic and algebra? And in the same way, by highlighting the differences, I hope I can also give you the connection. Paano nagagamit yung arithmetic papunta sa algebra. So, magkaiba yan, but they're connected. And it's not just because of changing the letter. Hindi ibig sabihin X algebra na yon. No, that's not true. So, why is algebra difficult for some students? Because there is an important transition in thinking. Okay, so this transition is from thinking of variables from a static quantity to a dynamic quantity. So lilinawin ko yan ngayon sa talk na ito. Okay. Interestingly, this transition also occurred in the history of mathematics. Yung math natin ngayon, yung algebra natin ngayon is actually a product of thousands of years of thought na nung umpisa medyo basic pa lang yung math hanggang naging algebra na yung thinking. So dito sa talk na ito maganda napansin ko yung development ng pagtuturo natin, it follows the development of how mathematics actually was invented and discovered. Okay, so linawin ko yan mamaya with some historical tidbits, but now let's focus first on the word variable. So in grade 7, students are taught that a variable is a letter that represents a number. However, actually itong paper na ito yung basis nitong sasabihin ko. Ang galing. The authors distinguish the many ways that a variable can be used. Marami silang sinabi, but I will focus only on a few of those in this lecture. So first is variable as an unknown, a determinate quantity, meaning may isa siyang fixed na number na nire-represent na, for example, yung kanina, x plus 5, ano yun? Ito, 5 plus x equals 7. We know that there is only one number that this x represents, and that is 2. So, yan yung tinatawag natin number as an unknown. Pwede rin coefficients as a placeholder. Okay, so kunwari, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So, yung a, b, and c noon, coefficient yon. And for algebraic thinking, this is the main thing that I want to discuss today. What is a variable? A variable is a letter that represents a range of unspecified values, and a systematic relationship is said to exist between these two sets of values. So the focus is on the relationship na pag tumaas halimbawa yung x, ano nangyayari dun sa y? And there are many topics in the DepEd curriculum katulad ng variation na where you discuss relationship between two quantities, diba, in direct variation, inverse variation. But it's not only that topic. Marami rin ibang topic. Katulad, at mamaya makita nyo yan. So, I mentioned earlier that I will discuss some historical facts. So, let's start with Diophantus. And ang sabi-sabi nung namatay daw siya dun sa kanyang tomb, may math problem. So siguro ganun siya kahilig sa math. And Diophantus is sometimes called to be the father of algebra in ancient times. So ito yung problem. Okay? This is actually solvable and I hope you can try to solve. Okay, so this tomb holds Diophantus. God granted him to be a boy for 1/6 of his life, a youth for 1/12 part, and 1/7 more as a bachelor. 5 years later, his marriage was born, a son who died 4 years before his father at half the age at which his father died. Okay. Solve nyo? Sige, kung medyo nahirapan pa kayo, gamitin natin yung variable na x to represent the unknown. And what unknown is that? Yung age niya. So, kunwari x yung age ni Diophantus. Okay, subukan ninyo x yung age ni Diophantus. Okay, 1/6 part of his life. So, ano yon? Okay, so x over 6. So, ito muna papakita ko as a starting point. Kayong subukan nyo tapusin hanggang sa kaya nyo. So, x yung age niya. So, 1/6 part of his life, yan yung, he was a boy, bata siya niyan. And then, youth for 1/12 part. Okay, so can you please do this? Sige, so please use your pen and paper. Tuloy ninyo. Okay, 1/12 part of his life. So, hopefully you got this. Plus x over 12. And then, 1/7 part of his life as a bachelor. So, i-add lang natin yun. Meron siyang boy. Plus, ito yung teenager, youth. Plus yung time niya na pagiging bachelor, single. Ayan. After nung lahat ng yon, after niya na boy, teenager, single, after 5 years, okay? So after 5 years, nagkaroon daw siya ng anak. Okay. Ito isipin natin, paano ba to ano? So, how old was his son? It says in the problem na naunang namatay sa kanya yung anak niya. Okay, after his marriage was born a son who died 4 years before his father. So, nauna pang namatay yung anak. Tapos, ilang taon yung anak nung namatay siya. Ang nakalagay dyan, the son was half the age at which his father died. So, age of the father is X. So, yung anak niya umabot ng X over 2 years old. Okay? Tapos, after 4 years pa, saka namatay si Diophantus. So, plus X. So, plus 4. Sorry. So, actually, ito na yung buong buhay niya. As a boy, as a teenager or youth, and then, as a bachelor or single. Okay? And then, 5 years, ito yung 5 years niya na may asawa na siya, pero after 5 years, tsaka siya ng anak. Nung nagkaanak siya, yung anak niya nabuhay ng X over 2 years. After namatay yung anak niya, may 4 years pa siya na nabuhay. So basically, if you add all of this, that's equal to Diophantus' age. Now, please try to solve this problem. Yeah, I think I can give you several minutes to do this. Mas maganda din kung instead na mag-hi lang din kayo sa mga comments, lagay nyo naman yung sagot nyo sa comment. Okay din yon. Okay, so now let's check. Okay, your answer, if you solve for x, the answer is supposed to be 84. So hindi ko na pakita yung solution, so the answer is 84. And what's the point of this? I want to show you that the variable can serve many uses, but in this particular case, it's as an unknown. So the variable as an unknown. Kasi yung x na ito just represents one value and that's 84. Okay, so kunwari mga quadratic equation, di ba, pwedeng dalawa yung sagot. So unknown pa rin yun. So you only have a predetermined, so a value that you can determine, something like that. So may value yan siya. So yan ang example natin of variable as an unknown. And that actually occurs repeatedly in the high school curriculum. So katulad nito, pag tingnan niyo yung DepEd, mula grade 7 hanggang grade 11, meron siyang solution. Nag-iiba lang yung klase ng equation. May linear, quadratic, tapos polynomial, grade 10. Pagdating ng grade 11 yan, medyo marami na. May rational, exponential, logarithmic. Pero lahat yan, they treat the variable as an unknown. So if we are going to use technology, paano ba mag-solve ng isang equation? Some of you may be familiar with this already, pero dun sa mga hindi, daanan ko na lang din. Okay? Those who know, pwedeng sabayan nyo, use your calculator to find the values of the following. So here in our calculator, we can actually find the value. So menu, punta tayo sa equation. Okay, saan yan? Dito yan, equation. Ito. So again, so from the menu, go to A, so equation. Okay. So for the first equation, it's just a quadratic equation. So we choose polynomial of degree 2. So we click 2. Ayan. Okay, please type the coefficients. Okay, so type niyo yung coefficient 3, negative 5, and negative 1. And then click equal. So you already have the solution. Ayan siya. So that's how we solve using technology. Tapos kung isipin niyo ano ba yan? Parang masyado namang nagiging tamad yung bata kung ganyan na lang. Actually, if the topic is how to solve a quadratic equation, sige, okay lang, huwag niyong paggamitin ng technology. Pero halimbawa, nasa mas advanced na topic, kasi hindi naman ito yung pinag-aaralan nila, tapos mas nakapapatagal pa kung isolve nila. So, pwedeng ito na yung gamitin so that they can focus on more advanced or higher order thinking skills. So, kunwari may word problem, tapos the point of the problem is really to assess kung marunong silang mag-model ng situation, hindi naman yung pag-solve na equation. So, pwede natin paggamitin ng calculator. Paano naman itong x cube? So, kunwari yung x cube, so ganun ulit, go to polynomial, select 3, yan. So, you now have x cube here. Okay, but make sure na tama yung coefficient na i-enter nyo. So, here, you have the equal sign here. So, we have to put all of these expressions on the left side. So, ang lalabas, you have x cubed. The coefficient of x cubed is 1. What's the coefficient of x squared? Negative 2. Coefficient of x, okay, if we add 7x to both sides, so may plus 7x dito, no? So, 7. And then, okay, subtract 3 from both sides of the equation. So, dito sa left side, magkakaroon ka ng negative 3 minus 3. And then, you now have your solution. Okay. And in fact, if you press down, you have two other solutions, pero ito na yung non-real solutions. Okay, you can see that meron na siyang I, or what we call the imaginary number. But for the purposes of yung real life problems, most of the time, we just need the real solution. So, makuha yan dito. And medyo mahalaga to because by hand, it's not possible to actually get this by hand. Actually, possible siya, pero medyo matagal. Papakita ko nga mamaya paano, but if the purpose really of math is one of the purposes is to apply it, di ba? So, mahirap kung lahat na lang i-compute. Mas maganda kung meron tayong technology tulad nito, pwede na tayong mag-focus sa ibang mga tanong. Paano naman tong x to the 5 minus 8x cubed minus 10? Kung titingnan ninyo itong sa calculator, hanggang degree 4 lang. So, paano yan? Actually, pwede pa natin magamit, okay, in a way. So, let's go to, sige, let's turn it, menu. Then what's happening? So, menu. Let's go to table. Okay, so please get your calculator, follow me. Okay, please get the, punta kayo sa table. So again, punta kayo sa menu, and then go to table. Number 9 siya, dito sa ClassWiz. Tapos, pagdating sa table, let's type the function. So you have x raised to the 5 minus 8x cubed. Oops, sorry. 8x cubed minus 10. Ayan. Okay. Tapos equal lang natin. Makukuha nyo ito eh. So you have here the values. If x is 1, ito yung y. Okay. For polynomials, and this is true for sure sa mga polynomials, kapag may nakita kayong isang negative tsaka isang positive, katulad nito, negative 42 and 17, siguradong meron isang value between 2 and 3, di ba? Kasi yung 2, negative yung y. Pag 3, positive. And this is true for polynomials. Kapag nangyaring may isang negative, isang positive, siguradong sa gitna nila, merong isang zero, magzi-zero. So in a way, we can do some trial and error. So let's say you have 2 and 3, negative yung 2, positive yung 3. What if i-try nyo 2.5? Okay, tingnan nyo yung 2.5 negative. Yung 3 positive. I-type ko lang ulit dito yung 3. Ayan. Lakihan ko lang din siguro para mas makita nyo. So, negative and positive. So, between 2.5 and 3, dapat meron dyan isang root. So, what if i-try natin yung 2.5 negative 37, 3. So, siguro mas malapit sa 3, no? Try natin 2.8. Yan. O, makita nyo. Pag 2.8 negative, pag 3 positive. So, between 2.8 and 3, merong isa dyan na answer. Try natin 2.9. 2.9. Okay, 2.9. Ayan siya. This is negative 5 times 10 to the negative 4. So that's like, maliit na yan. 0.000, diba? 0.00005. So your answer is very close to 2.9. If you want something more accurate, you can try 2.95. Okay, yung 2.95 positive, yung 2.9 negative. So may mas malapit pa siguro sa 2.9. So pwedeng 2.91. Okay, ayan, 2.91. So sa gitna ng 2.91 saka 2.90, merong isang root dyan, positive, negative. So sa gitna nila, somewhere in between. So pwede sigurong 2.905. Ay, pareho ng positive. So masyado sigurong mataas. Try natin 2.903. Parehong positive. So basically, in a way, it's trial and error. 908. Balik tayo sa 2.9. Oops, sorry, I pressed 3.9. So 2.9. Okay, negative. So I guess ito na, this is already a good answer for us, 2.9. So kung isipin niyo, without a calculator, this will be very difficult to do. Biro mo, lagi kayong magmumultiply dito, tapos matagal yon. So with technology, we can focus on the actual problem that we want to apply this computation to. Now going back to history, the idea of using a variable as an unknown had been known since ancient times. So panahon pa ni Diophantus ginagamit na yan. Diba? 200 AD. So, itong part na ito ng math, ito yung medyo mas madali pa. Okay? It's not yet what we call the gatekeeper siguro. Kasi for a linear equation, halimbawa, there is a solution. 'Di ba? There is an algorithm, okay? Yung just use the additive property, add the same number to both sides and so on, makakasolve kayo ng kahit anong linear equation. Kapag quadratic equation, pwede kayo gumamit ng completing the square, pwede kayo gumamit ng factoring. So may solution. Tapos may step-by-step procedure. So medyo hindi pa siguro dyan nahihirapan yung mga bata. And this is also reflected in the history of math na ito yung unang use ng variable na nagamit na as an unknown. Okay. To give you an idea, kung si Diophantus 200 AD, dito naman kay al-Khwarizmi 830 AD, ang tagal na rin. Actually, al-Khwarizmi is a mathematician from Persia. Yung pangalan niya, that's actually the origin of the name algorithm or step-by-step procedure. So, panahon ni al-Khwarizmi, merong natirang manuscript. There's a surviving manuscript na sinolve itong equation na ito. Tapos ito yung solution. Pero alam nyo, yung time na yon hindi pa na-invento yung variable. Hindi pa na-invento yung variable. So believe it or not, the variable was invented at the start, wala pang variable. Kaya itong unknown na ito, as an unknown, tingnan nyo, hindi ganito yung pagkasulat ni Diophantus. It's all in words. So at that time, variables were not yet, wala pang variable as a letter. It's all as an unknown. Tapos hindi talaga sila gumagamit ng letter. They're using words. So magtaka kayo, bakit ito letter? Hindi yan yung original. Ang original, ganito yung itsura. O ito, kasi x squared plus 10x equals 39. Ito yung original niya. Of course, translated to English. What must be the square which, when increased by 10 of its own roots, amounts to 39? Can you imagine? Napaka-complicated. Question pa lang yan. Imagine nyo ito. Paano kaya nila sinusulat ito noong araw? So, ganito ang itsura niya. The solution is this. O, di ba, nakakapagod basahin. Hindi ko na siguro basahin yan. But you get the idea. Di ba, you have the number of roots, ganyan. Now, take the root of this, which is 8, and ganyan. So, siguro if you present this to the class, they have a better appreciation of variables kasi kung wala pa rin naka-invent ng variables, hanggang ngayon, ganito tayo mag-math. Parang nagsusulat. Di ba? And you can compare. Ito napaka-iksi and it's easy to see. Pagdating dito, ang hirap. And then another important person in terms of the history of variables is Francois Viete. Okay? Look at the dates. Kung si Diophantus ay 200 AD, si al-Khwarizmi ay 830 AD. Tagal, di ba? Ilang generations yan? How many hundreds of years? Francois Viete, 1540. He was the first to actually give several uses for variables. Doon sa panahon ni Diophantus, mostly as an unknown. Yung kay Viete, meron na rin siyang coefficients. And what is the advantage of coefficient? Kasi nung panahon ni na al-Khwarizmi, walang coefficient. Lahat yan, no? Di ba sa atin ngayon, ax squared plus bx plus c. Sa panahon ni al-Khwarizmi, lahat yan number. So, wala pa talaga siyang ABC. So, the only variables that you see here are unknowns. Pero Viete changed that. Okay, meron na rin siyang coefficients. And what's the advantage? Of course, pwede kayong gumawa na ng formula. Okay, so Viete was the first to use letters to denote both coefficients and unknowns, and this led to a more abstract conception of number. So without coefficients, we will always be stuck with this. Pag binago mo yung problem, bago na naman yung solution, and so on. Pero dahil meron ng coefficient, Viete, ganito na itsura niya. Okay. Meron ka ng formula. Hindi na yung parang kanina na pag 10, ganito. Pag 39, ganito. So, ngayon, you have a formula that you can use for all equations of this form. So, this is a major breakthrough in the history of mathematics. Okay? Otherwise, we would have been stuck. Kaya nga, nung una, ang tagal bago na-develop nung math. Pero after Viete, mabilis na. Nagkaroon na bigla ng Cartesian plane. Started by this, of course, yung idea of one variable affecting another variable, Khwarizmi. And this was the precursor to the Cartesian plane as we know it today. And then itong si Descartes is around 1600s. You see that the pace of development is becoming faster. Eh, dahil yan sa invention of variables. So Viete's invention of variables had immediate effects. Within 50 years, analytic geometry was born. And within 100 years, there was calculus. So, ganun kabilis. Compare nyo yung time na, di ba, from Diophantus to al-Khwarizmi to Viete, thousands of years yon. But here, after 50 years, ano na, analytic geometry. Itong analytic geometry, yan yung kay Descartes, yung Cartesian plane. And after within 100 years, so 50 years after, ang bilis, may calculus na kaagad. Tapos marami akong estudyante pag sinasabi ko to sila sa inyo, ano ba yan? Dapat hindi na na-invent. Wala sanang calculus, wala sanang mahirap sa buhay. Pero alam nyo, hindi ganon. Kung hindi na-invent ni Bethe, all of these major advancements in mathematics medyo mas mapapatagal. And we are actually enjoying a lot of the effects of math. Much of the technology now, mga cell phones, computers, they're all based on math. So, kung titingnan ninyo, ang nagpabilis din talaga niyan, isa sa mga nagpabilis is really the invention of variables. So, sana mas ma-appreciate din natin yung variable. Tingnan nyo yung paano magsulat ngayon, paano magsulat dati. Diba? Pag nakasulat na siya in variable type, mas madali rin mag-manipulate and so on. And that's very difficult to do in words.
Ngarap.
Hello, Ma?
Hello, anak. Sorry, kakatapos lang ng trabaho ni Mama.
Okay lang po, Ma. Kakatapos lang din naman po namin maglaro.
Mukhang nandun ka ulit sa paborito mong lugar, ah. O sige, ready ka na ba? Punta ka na sa DepEd Commons. Math tayo ngayon, ha? Saan na nga ulit tayo nahinto kahapon? Sa problem solving na, di ba?
Okay, that is the first part of our program. So in a few minutes, we're going to have the second part of our program with our speaker, Dr. Debbie Marie Verzosa. So let's read some comments here. Tingnan natin. I think wala na mag-aanong comments about our discussion for today. Let's have a message coming from Reynaldo Torres Jr. The legend is the one discussing. I am just a mere student of the distinguished discussant. So, Sir Reynaldo Torres Jr., thank you for this message. And now, I think let's proceed with the next part of our program.
Okay, so in this puzzle, ayan, dahil medyo marami na akong nasabi kanina, okay, I want you to be more active again. So I think I'll give you a question para kayo naman. Okay, so in this puzzle, okay, you have here a Cartesian plane basically. What are the values of A, B, C, and D? Sige. So pakisulat po. Okay, meron sana sa inyo sulat sa comment, okay din. Okay? So I think I'll give you time to answer. Be careful. Nung yung unang sinagot ko to, mali rin pala. So isipin niyo muna. So think carefully. Ayan. So I think may sagot na siguro kayo. Okay, itong AC, I think you will know. It's 4, 4. Diba? Kasi 4 yung height, so 4 din yung height dito. 4 yung x, so 4 din yung x dyan. So this is 4, 4. And then, yung B and D, hindi naman yan 4. B is actually the y coordinate, so 0. And then D here is the x coordinate, so it's 0. So this will be the answer. Ayan. So parang ano lang yan, pampagising. Hopefully nagising nga talaga kayo. Because we will actually use the concept that's shown in this puzzle later on as we move towards the second use of the variable that I want to emphasize. Diba kanina, na-emphasize ko yung use of the variable as an unknown. In this part, I will use the variable as a representation of a relationship. And as usual, maraming ganyan sa DepEd curriculum. Okay? Kung basahin nyo, basically illustrates linear equations, graph, models using a table of values, graph equation. Halos nag-uulit-ulit lang siya. Ang nagbabago lang yung type of function. So kung dito linear, nagiging quadratic, polynomial. Pagdating ng grade 11, yun pa rin naman. Represents a function using a table of values, graph equation. You have rational, exponential, and logarithmic function. So the important thing I want to highlight here is, unlike the first aspect of a variable, kanina kasi the aspect was mostly on a variable as an unknown. Dito naman, the variable represents a relationship. Kung tumaas ang x, anong nangyayari sa y? Yung ganon. Kung tumaas yung x ng isa, anong nangyayari sa pagtaas ng y? Tumataas din ba siya ng isa? Bumababa ba siya? And all. So there is a relationship. Kaya dito rin pumapasok yung topic ng relations and functions. So I won't go into the details of that. So I will focus on the use of technology to highlight the use of variable as a representation of a relationship. Tapos ito nga yung sinasabi natin na um, tawag dyan. So representation of a relationship. So ito yung sinasabi nating algebraic thinking. Sa elementary, medyo ang focus kung meron mang variable, n yung usually gamit, it's mostly as an unknown. Kaya nagkakaroon ng difficulty yung transition from elementary to high school. Isang difficulty doon is yung transition na hindi lang pala unknown ang pwedeng maging hindi lang unknown ang pwedeng maging gamit ng variable, but a variable can also highlight a relationship. So ito na yung next part na ating lecture na yun. So it's important to distinguish between different aspects of a variable. A variable as an unknown or as a representation of a relationship. Tapos itong representation na to can be done using table of values, graph, and equation. And this is not something I invented. And in fact, that's part of the official DepEd curriculum. Ayan paulit-ulit yan. Table, graph, equation. Diba? Paulit-ulit yan. Table, graph, equation. So you are probably familiar with this competency. Pag ganito na yung nakita yung competency, ang tinututukan na niyan, variable as a relationship. Tapos may halimbawa yan. So variable as an unknown, ito yun. X plus 5 equals 0. Ang sagot dyan, negative 5. It is a determinate quantity. Okay? Tapos, as a relationship, you can now see what happens to y as x changes. Okay, pag nagbabago yung x, ano nangyari sa y? So, I hope these two examples elucidate or illuminate the difference. So, magandang natin to. Ito yung medyo mas iisipin natin na algebraic thinking. Thinking of change. Ganyan siya. Functions as change. So, let's have this activity. Okay. The slope of a line is 2. And it passes through the point 1, 3. What other points are on the line? So please imagine, okay, I can give you a starting point. Okay, may isang point daw, 1, 3. Itong point na to, dinadaanan ng line. Tapos yung line na yon, ang slope niya ay 2. Ano pang ibang points na nasa line? Okay, kung kanina hindi kayo sumasagot sa comment kasi may nauna na sa inyong sumagot. Dito sumagot kayo kasi ang daming pwedeng answer dito. There are infinitely many points on a line. So there are infinitely many comments that you can put. So infinitely many answers. Please show your participation and engagement. Please write down a possible answer. Kung yung 1, 3 ay nasa line, tapos ang slope niya ay 2, ano pang ibang pwedeng points sa line? Sige, sulat kayo. Okay, kung medyo na-stuck yung iba, ito, bigyan ko kayo ng hint. Kapag ang slope ay 1, 2, di ba, the slope is rise over run. So, rise over run. So, 2 over 1, di ba, the slope is 2. So, ang pwedeng maging rise mo is 2, tapos 1. So, ibig sabihin, pag pupunta ka sa right ng isa, dapat tumaas ka ng 2. Ganun lang naman siya. So, go to the right 1, go up 2. Sige. So I'm expecting more comments now. Please write down answers. Tapos isip kayo ng sagot na hindi pa naiisip ng ibang teacher. Okay. Sige, ano pa? Write down your comments. Sige, I think medyo dumadami na sumasagot. Sagot pa kayo, marami pang pwedeng sagot, please. So, kahit umabot sa mga 100 or 1,000, wala ba kayong maisip? Or what about yung mga may negative? Okay, isip din tayo. Okay, broaden. So, kung kayo dito, isa pa, 1 to the right, 2 up, 1 right, 2 up. What about dito sa left side? So, syempre, 1 left, 2 down, and so on. Okay, sige, damihan pa natin. Please participate. So, all right, now let's process this activity. Okay. What other points are on the line? If we start at 1, 3, okay, so 1 to the right, 2 up, okay, you'll probably get 2, 5, and many of you answered 2, 5. Okay, ganun ulit, 1 to the right, 2 up, 3, 7. So, ganun siya, 4, 9. And some of you gave answers na mataas, meron din mga negative. Ayan. Okay. In general, what's the relationship between X and Y? So, actually, yung 1, pag dinagdagan mo ng any value, yung Y, yung 3, dapat dagdagan mo ng twice. Diba? Kasi kung ano man yung right nyo dito, balik tayo sa kanina slide. Kung ilang beses kayo or this one, dali oh, kung nag-write kayo ng 1, yung paakyat nyo 2. So, laging doble yung pataas. Okay, so, doble yung pataas. So, ganun dito. Yun yung nangyari dito. So, doble yung pataas. So, kung tumaas ka ng 1 sa X, yung Y mo tataas ng 2, 2A. Okay. Kung tumaas ng 2A yung X, dapat yung Y mo tumaas ng 4A, double. Diba? And so on. Whatever is your increase in the X, that the increase in Y should be double. Alright. Now, what's the relationship? Ito yung tanong ngayon, di ba? Variable as a relationship. Ano yung relationship ngayon ng Y tsaka ng X? Let's try to figure it out. From the picture, you see that, let's focus on this line, in this point. Y equals 3 plus A. Yung X naman, 1 plus 3A. What I'll do now is I'll try to express Y, ngayon in terms of A siya, gawin ko siya in terms of X. So, ang gagawin ko ngayon dito, let's isolate A. Okay. Iwan yung A sa isang side. Sige, ano mangyari? Okay, so iwan nyo yung A sa isang side. You will actually have A is equal to X minus 1 all over 3, right? Okay, please verify. So ito siya. Ngayon, ang gagawin ninyo, itong A na ito, please substitute this in this A. Okay, para mawala na yung A dun sa first equation. So again, itong X minus 1 divided by 3, substitute nyo dito. Anong lalabas? Yan. So please write down your answer. Okay, so pag substitute nyo doon, ita times 6 nyo kasi yung A. So times 6 nyo ito. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Diba? So 2. You will now have Y equals 3 plus 2 times quantity X minus 1. So ano nangyari sa fraction? Kasi 6 divided by 3, ito na yan, 2. And then simplify. So please simplify. You will now get this. Y equals 2x plus 1. Alam niyo yung mga ibang estudyante, kung nasa stuck sila dun sa use of a variable as unknown, minsan, for some reason, bigla na lang may gagawin sila dito, equate nila sa 0, solve nila yung x, or minsan sabihin nila, final answer na ba yan? Ano yung x? Kasi hindi nila naiisip na yung sagot is not an unknown, it's not a number, but the answer is a relationship. Ito yung relationship between x and y. So, minsan doon nasa-stuck yung transition from variable as unknown to variable as a relationship. So, ngayon may relationship dito pinapakita. Ayan. And actually, pwede natin gamitin yung calculator para mapakita rin itong relationship na ito. Okay, so let's use our calculator. Gamitin natin itong function. Normally, we use this only for statistics, but I think we can use the same for this, for a kind of problem that we have right now. So how do we do this? Sige, punta tayo sa calculator. Okay, so now here we have the calculator. How do we use the calculator to get this table? So punta ulit tayo sa mode. So ito yung mode. And then table. So click that. Oh, sorry. Wait lang. So please follow along with me. Mode. Okay, dito pala tayo sa statistics. Yan, 6. So click this. Okay, so because we are dealing with a line, let's choose 2. So ulit so punta tayo sa 6. Yan, tapos 2. So mode, ulit. So turn this on, mode, dito sa 6. Tapos click 2. Yan, tapos i-press na natin yung 1. Diba, nag-start tayo sa 1, 3. Okay, another point on the line, you have 2. Ano yung y natin? 5, di ba? 2, 5. Okay. Meron ding 3, 7. 3, 7. Actually, pwede kong ituloy ito, but because alam naman natin, we know what to expect. Actually, pag 2 points lang, makukuha na natin yung line. Pero, so pwedeng mag-stop na tayo sa 2, 5. Pero tinuloy ko lang konti, pwede rin yun. Okay, ang gagawin ninyo, okay, click this operation, click. Okay, and then click regression 4. So again, anong ginawa ko? From the table, click OPTN, operation, then regression 4. Okay. So ito na siya. Y equals A plus BX, A equals 1, B equals 2. Mati-check ninyo, dapat actually R equals 1. I won't, pag nagtuturo tayo, pwede natin sabihin na actually this is for statistics but we're using it for math. R equals 1 gives us an idea kung tama na nag-fall talaga on one line. Pag hindi 1 yan, ibig sabihin wala sila sa one line. Dapat 1 or negative 1 ito dapat. So ito yung lumabas. Diba? So this is what you find here. Y equals A plus BX. Tapos yung A daw niya is 1. And then B is 2. Tapos if you substitute BX, B is the coefficient of X. So 2X yun. Y equals A. So A is 1. You will see that our computation kanina, Y equals 2X plus 1, the red one, matches what is given by the calculator. So ang galing, you can actually use the calculator to get the same equation as what we found earlier. And then subukan nyo to, generate the QR code. Okay, paano natin i-generate yung QR code? So just, you will need to click Shift QR. So pakita natin yan. So to get the QR code, you can click Shift here, Shift, and then here, kasi nakalagay dyan QR, you will have this QR code. Ayan. Ayan. Okay. Kanina at the start of this, at the start of the lecture, sabi ko, kunin nyo yung scanner ninyo, let's scan. Kung hindi pa yan makita ng scanner niyo, try natin tong mas malaki. So please scan this. Alright? Alright, so pwede ito palang i-scan ninyo, try ninyo kung ano. Actually, I think this lecture will be available even after this talk. So, magandang subukan nyo, i-scan ninyo, paglaruan ninyo. Okay, pag i-scan nyo actually yan, you will be directed to the Casio website and you will see the points plotted. So, meron ding graph. Hindi nga graphing calculator ito, pero makikita nyo yung graph and you can actually drag this to see more parts of the screen. There is a zoom here. So ayan siya. I suggest you play around with it. So in this part of the video, ito yung at least napakita ko sa inyo. Algebraic thinking can be demonstrated through a linear function.
Okay, that is our second part of our webinar session for today. So I think we still have another session with Dr. Debbie Marie Verzosa for a while. But before that, let us try to watch another video from the Educational Technology Unit.
Hello mga bata! Ako si Mr. Bisco, ang techie teacher ngayong panahon ng pandemic. May ipapakilala pala ako. Say hello to your new best friend, ang DepEd Commons. Kahit nasa bahay, tuloy pa rin ang pag-aaral. Mapa-public o private school, pareho ang access sa DepEd Commons. Parang Facebook lang to. Libre. Ito lang ang kailangan mo. Malakas na signal para ma-access ang website. Hindi kailangan ng load or data credits. Paano ito gamitin? 5 easy steps lang. 1. Sa smartphone, tablet, laptop o desktop computer mo, i-type ang commons.deped.gov.ph at simulan ang pag-login. Pangalawa, piliin kung ikaw ay nasa public o private school. Step 3, i-type ang school name at school ID mo. Tapos, pindutin ang student na option. I-type ang buong pangalan. Parang exam lang. Pwede ka rin maglagay ng email address para sa updates. At panghuli, click save. High five! Nakapasok ka na sa DepEd Commons. Simple lang. Tingin sa kaliwa. Makikita mo dito ang menu para sa iba't ibang features ng website. Ang spotlight. May featured learning materials galing sa mga partners ng DepEd. Topics tulad ng cybersafety, may storybooks din, at blog lessons para mas mapadali ang math. Sina Hanchis at ang fruity mo. Nasa menu rin ang weekly plans para sa grade levels na base sa most essential learning competencies o MELC. Interactive ang learning tools. Gamified ang exams at quizzes. Wala nang excuse para bumagsak, ha? Sa panahon ngayon, hawak kamay tayo at salamat sa teknolohiya, mailalapit natin ang edukasyon sa bagong henerasyon. Come on na sa DepEd Commons. Gawin nating accessible ang pag-aaral. Follow ang Department of Education sa social media. At ang iba pa nilang websites for more information. Ang dami ko nang sinabi. Kahit daliri lang ako. Paalam!
Algebraic thinking, meaning we want to use the variable as a representation of a relationship. So let's look at this situation. If there are 30 mango trees in a farm, each tree will yield 80 kilograms of mangoes in 1 year. And then for each additional mango tree, the yield per tree decreases by 2 kilograms. So I'll start off by writing it in a table, writing the data. Di ba sabi dito, pag 30 daw yung number of trees, bawat tree from the ground, nag-aagawan sila, so mas konti yung yield ng bawat puno. And it says here, for each additional mango tree, the yield per tree decreases by 2. So let's now look at what happens. Paano kung nagdagdag tayo kung 30 mango trees, 31 and so on. But for now, tingnan natin kung may 30 kasi na trees and yield per tree is 80 kilograms, the total production is 30 trees times 80 kasi 80 kilograms per tree. So you have 2,400. Okay? Now, for our activity, please try to answer this. What if there were 31 trees? So, di ba ang sabi kanina, pag nadagdagan daw ng isa, for each additional tree, mababawasan daw ng dalawa. So, ito magiging 72 na lang. And then get the total production. So, I'll give you time. Okay, sinabi ko kanina, get your pen and paper, calculator. Okay, so, sige, write your comments at the end. Okay, better talaga na mag-comment kayo to show your engagement to our video. Okay, I hope you started your computation. Sige, kung medyo nag-aalangan kayo, I'll give you the first. Okay, so kung 31, if the number of trees increases by 1, okay, this will decrease by 2. So 80 kilograms per tree becomes 78. So please check your work na ganito siya. Pag 31, 78, tapos the total yield, if you multiply the 2, you have 2,480. So please continue with your computation. Hopefully this gives you some confidence kung tama kayo. Ayan. So now let's check. Okay? So malinaw to. Basta bawat dagdag na puno nababawasan ng dalawa yung yield per tree. So this will be the answer. All right. Okay. You may have seen this kind of problem in your textbook, but let's focus on the algebraic aspect, on the relationship aspect. Okay. Is there a pattern? Okay. So from what we've seen earlier, ito yung ano. Okay. So 2,400 production, kilograms yan, in kilograms pag 33 and so on. Okay. Tingnan ninyo yung nangyayari dito. Ito nadagdagan ng 18. Ito nadagdagan ng 14 and so on. Okay. Is there a pattern? Yan. 18, nadagdagan ng 14, nadagdagan ng 10. So nadadagdagan siya, no? Pero kung mapapansin nyo, the increase is getting lower and lower. Nadadagdagan. Now, for the next part, what I want you to do is you can ignore first the situation, the mangoes. Just focus on this pattern. What happens if you continue? Please continue. Oh. So, nadagdagan ng 10, nadagdagan ng 6. So, dito, madadagdagan ng, okay, so tama, dapat madagdagan siya ng dalawa. Yan, so 2,450. Paano naman ito? Madadagdagan ng, kanina kasi ay 18, 14, nadadagdagan ng 10, 6, tapos nadagdagan ng dalawa. Okay, actually you notice here, nagde-decrease ito by 4. So the next is actually magdadagdag ng negative 2. In other words, a decrease of 2. So it's now back to 2,448. Okay, and you figure out the others. So let's say negative 2. Bawasan ng 2. Okay. So ito mababawasan ng minus 4 ulit tayo. So di ba minus 4 yan, minus 4. Pero minus 4. Okay, so we have here minus 6, 2,442. Continue the pattern, you have this. And maybe you notice these numbers here look familiar, and they look familiar because they're also the same numbers here, di ba? Parang nag-ulit siya, 2,432, ganyan. Okay. And I think you are familiar with a certain function na ganyan, na parang in a way it's symmetrical. You have a highest point, and then on both sides of the highest point, you have the same height, di ba? Same value. Okay? Anong function yon? Eh, hindi yan linear kasi yung linear pwedeng paakit lang or pababa lang. So we actually have here, we have a quadratic function. Okay, symmetric with respect to the vertex. All right. If I enter that, okay, so ganun ulit gawin natin, enter. Okay, paano nga natin ginawa yon? Okay, so we have mode, diba? Mode, and then go to statistics. There. And then, because we know that it's the pattern here is a quadratic function, okay? We choose the third one, so choose 3, and then we enter, okay, what we had earlier. So please enter along with me. Yan, please enter along with me. Pwede siguro pababa na tayo mag-enter. So 30, and then 31, 32. And then here you have 2,400, 2,418, and 2,432. Ayan. Okay. Actually, we can plug in more. Pero pag quadratic, actually hanggang 3 pwede na. For a linear equation, 2 points are needed. For a quadratic, 3 points are needed. So let's say we have this. All right. And then same thing, operation, and then you choose regression. And then you have here the equation. Okay, please take a look at the equation. Yan. If you go back to the table, again, you can generate the QR code. Ayan siya. So you can generate the QR code. If you have your QR scanner, you can try to scan this. Okay, tingnan natin kung mapalaki natin so you can scan. All right. So yan. Okay. Scan this. And you will be brought to the website, Casio website, that shows this one. So actually, paglaruan nila yung QR code, if you want to see the graph, you look at the QR code. And then actually, if you, on the website, you can drag on the graph. You can move the graph around to see more of it. Okay, you can zoom. All right. And then, para makita nyo equation din, okay, or pwede nyong lakihan din yung ano, if you use the settings here, you can change the viewing window. Okay. So, again, this talk here is just meant for you meant for me to give you some starting points. No? Marami kayong ma-explore. So, try ninyo. Change the viewing window, makita nyo, and then again, you can move this around. And when you look at the equation, yung regression calculation, you will get this. So, turns out, it's a quadratic equation where c is negative 2. So, the coefficient of x squared is negative 2. So, dito, makita nyo lahat ng points natin exactly dumadaan doon yung curve. So, this is an exact fit. Diba? So, ano yung exact fit na yon? Negative 2 is the coefficient of c. And then you have b is 140, a is 0. Okay. When you replay this video, maganda rin i-check ninyo what if you add more rows. Kasi may alam pa tayo bukod sa 30, 31, and so on. Eh. Kung nagdagdag pa kayo dyan ng more rows, will all the dots or will all the points still be on the graph? So yan, again, many things to explore. And then if you generate the QR code for the equation, you will also see the same. Yan. So in fact, pwedeng ngayon dahil nauuso yung QR code sa contact tracing, pasahan kayo ng QR code and then you can already get the data out of it. And again, you can check from the table, we can generate an equation, we can also sketch a graph. And then this is the equation where x here refers to the number of trees. And then y is the total production. And what I showed you is actually, again, aligned with the DepEd competencies Okay? Because yung mga function na yan, all the functions, ang maraming sinabi yung DepEd na dapat hindi lang siya ma-represent using an equation. Dapat meron din daw table of values, graph, and equation. And the same is also true for grade 11. No? Kita ninyo talagang yung DepEd competencies, they emphasize multiple representations. Ito yung tinatawag nating algebraic thinking. Yan. So here again are the competencies. Ang pinagkaiba pala nitong competencies na to, the focus is on real life. Okay. In the other competencies, it's table of values, graph, equation. I want to show you na meron din isang representation, real life situation. And of course, lahat tayo ngayon nararamdaman itong COVID-19 disease. So I'll show you again a way to harness algebraic thinking using another representation, which is real life situation. So I got this from the internet. Actually, this may not be the best data, but for purposes of illustration, I just chose yung weekly data values. Siyempre, mas maganda if you get more data. Pero if x equals 0 represents May 20, and then I put here the number of new COVID cases per day, makita ninyo nung bandang May, mga nasa 200 lang yung mga new cases natin. Pero umabot ng point, di ba, naka 2,000, 1,000 tayo. Ngayon, buti nag-stabilize. But if we look at this segment of the data, maganda yung ma-analyze natin. Ano kayang mangyayari kung, let's say, we did not implement any measures, pinabayaan lang natin, wala tayong social distancing, wala tayong mask, tapos pinabayaan lang natin. What do you think will happen if this pattern continues? So again, i-type ko yan dito. So I will not demonstrate it anymore kasi nakita nyo na kanina eh. So after you type in the values, you now will get the regression equation. Yan. So para makita ninyo yung advantage din ng QR code, ipadala ko to sa inyo. Please scan this with your QR scanner. All right? Okay, na-scan nyo na? So scan with your QR scanner. Kahit hindi kayo nag-type ng data, pinadala ko na lang sa inyo itong QR code, you will get this. And again, you can move the graph around. Okay. Now, please select this button. You will now get the exponential model. Okay, sa early part kasi ng COVID-19 pandemic sa Pilipinas, the dots seem to follow an exponential model. Okay? And if you click the regression, the usual yung operation, di ba? Operation, tapos ito yung kiklik ninyo yung una, makukuha nyo yung coefficients na hinahanap natin. So ayan, you can see how technology can also help us with the real life situation, yung modeling using a real life situation. And again, QR code. Okay, para hindi kayo nag-input ng data, ako na lang nagbigay sa inyo yung QR code. Scan this. Okay. And then what do you get? So you will also get the same results that I did. Diba? So hopefully this talk gave you some new insights about algebraic thinking. Okay, I did not just focus on the technology, I focus on using it to foster algebraic thinking. Okay, so highlights from this talk are the following. Number one, technology can be used to motivate a conversation. Di ba kanina pinakita ko na yung mga rational and irrational numbers, di ba? Instead of just giving them the definition, we use the technology to initiate a conversation. Rational ba ito? Irrational ba ito? Ganon. Okay. In general, also, I mentioned during the talk that a variable is any letter that can represent a number. Ito lang usually nasasabi sa estudyante. Pero dito sa talk na ito, pinakita ko na yung variable pala maraming gamit. Okay? It can be as an unknown, it can represent an unknown or a relationship. For the unknown, this is usually how variables are used in elementary. Okay, but in high school, we're focusing not only on this. Kasama ito kasi kasama yung solving equations. Pinakita ko kanina sa inyo yung DepEd na curriculum, di ba? Kasama ito. Pero kasama rin ito. Minsan kasi nakakalimutan natin. A variable can represent a relationship. If x increases, what happens to y and so on. And as also mentioned in the DepEd curriculum, a relationship can be represented by a table of values, an equation, a graph, or a real-life situation. At ang nakakatuwa sa technology, all of these can be shown using using technology, di ba? Table of values, nakita nyo naman kanina. And then if you click the regression, may equation kayo. And then the graph, you can get the graph using the QR code. And you can apply all of these representations on a real-life situation. And finally, technology can illuminate the various representations of a relationship. So I hope this talk gave you new ideas on how to use technology. It's not just something na bigay natin pag tinatamad yung gusto natin parang tinatamad na tayo mag-compute. Yeah, it's an advantage of technology. But you see here na yung technology can highlight representations. It can highlight relationships. And in doing so, we can use technology to foster algebraic thinking. Thank you.
And I think that concludes our second part of the program. Especially, this was discussed by Dr. Debbie Marie Verzosa. So to formally close our program, let us invite our speaker, Dr. Debbie Marie Verzosa. Hi, Doc.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, Doc, any last message to our viewers?
Salamat din sa pakikinig. And I guess I want to also highlight at least kasi ang isang mahirap sa webinar is you really cannot communicate with the audience, di ba? So kaya sinasabi ko
Yes,
sana magbigay kayo ng comment, magbigay kayo ng mga sagot. And parang ang hirap ko rin matansya kung may enough na ba yung time. But there are some teachers who actually explicitly wrote their answer. So batiin ko lang sila, sina Sir or Ma'am Tin Lyson, Onyap, and Yoj. Nagelabak. Kung yun yung kanilang mga FB profiles. Thank you for showing your participation. Kasi nakakatulong din talaga sa nagsasalita kung alam niyang medyo may yung nakakasunod pa. Pero hopefully, kung mga nahirapan kayo sa ibang part, you can always look back on the video. And thank you again to DepEd EduTech for the opportunity to share this with you. So yun lang po.
Thank you, Dr. Debbie Marie Verzosa. I think this is the second time na nagkasama po tayo on this kind of webinar. The first one is during our session with SDO Mandaluyong, with the whole Ateneo team. And at this juncture, let us now welcome the head of the Casio Education Unit and Casio Calculators Philippines. Let's welcome Mr. Joel C. Serrano. Good morning, Sir Joel.
Hi, good morning everybody. Good morning, Doc Debbie.
Morning.
Kumusta?
Okay
It
naman.
was a very, very nice presentation. No? Kanina pa ako naka-tune in actually. Alam mo, Sir Buddy, yan ang maganda kay Doc Debbie. No? I know Ma'am Debbie for how many years, Ma'am? Mga 7, 8 years ago. Magaling talaga magturo yan. No? Kung papansinin mo yung turo niya, from ground zero hanggang doon sa pinaka-climax, naka-lay down lahat ng detalye. So yung teacher talagang, ganun pala yun. So hindi siya maliligaw. And the same time, yung paggamit ng technology, hinalo ni Ma'am Debbie doon sa quarter 2 nga na curriculum for mathematics ng DepEd. So yun ang maganda kay Ma'am Deb. And another thing na maganda kay Ma'am Deb, yung teacher, pinag-iisip niya kung ano yung pwede ano ba yung possibilities na sagot, ano ba pwedeng mangyari sa pag binago mo itong variables na to, ginawa mo ganito, ganire. So ayun namang okay sa dapat na tawag dito, dapat ma-absorb ng isang teacher yung mga ganong klaseng tawag dito, strategy na dapat estudyante mag-isip din, hindi lang ibigay sa kanila yung concept. Yun. So maraming salamat, Doc Debbie, and thank you very much for giving us that very nice presentation for today.
Okay, thank you also.
Thank you, Sir Joel. So I think now that that concludes our webinar session this morning. Again, thank you, Dr. Debbie Marie Verzosa, and thank you, Sir Joel C. Serrano. Do you have any announcements, Sir Joel?
Yeah. Kasi marami nagtatanong no,
Upcoming events.
saan daw makukuha yung emulator na ginagamit ni Doc Verzosa. So you can just simply visit our educational page. It's edu.casio.com. So makikita nyo lahat ng emulators na libre. Yan. And kung hanapin nyo naman yung aming hardware or yung aming mga calculators, please visit our social media pages. It's CasioCalculatorsPhilippines.com. So we will lead you kung saan nyo siya makukuha, especially right now sa pandemic tayo. So ang pinakauso is online platform pa rin. No? So yun. Maraming salamat ulit, Doc Debbie, Sir Mark, yung grupo natin dyan, Sir Buddy, Director Abram, and the rest of the hardware and women of ETU. And sa lahat ng nanonood at ng participants, maraming salamat for staying tuned with us today. Ingat kayo dyan,
it's safe to say that we're going to have another session next week. That's December 26th.
Yes.
We'll be having another session with it's a Christmas season, so talagang hindi tumitigil ang Casio Calculator sa pagbibigay sa atin ng bagong kaalaman. Syempre yan. The man behind this is walang iba kundi ang ating kaibigan na napakabait, Mr. Joel C. Serrano. Again, thank you, Sir Joel, and thank you, Dr. Debbie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. And that concludes our webinar session for today. I hope marami tayong natutuhan sa araw na ito with the expertise of Dr. Debbie Marie Verzosa sharing her knowledge about our topic for today. And to formally end this program, magkapasko na. It's the season to be happy. Let's all spread yung value ng love, sharing, and understanding with one another. And lagi natin tatandaan, patapos ng bagong taon, ano man ang nangyari sa atin ngayong taon, let's move on and let's welcome 2021 with a smile, and let's forget about lahat ng nangyari sa atin ngayong 2020. Again, this is Salvador Imalansala, the first educational technology specialist saying thank you and goodbye. Happy holidays sa ating lahat.